participants who will be joining in, but the rest of you that are listening will be muted, so please forgive us for that. It's just to avoid any noise interference. So this follows our annual donations every year to what we call our charity of choice. So we're delighted to welcome all the volunteers from the Alzheimer Society of Ireland, some of their staff, plus our own board, our staff, and members of the Public Service Credit Union. So a particular welcome to the senior management team of the ASI, plus their volunteers from 19 branches. A welcome, as I said, to the board of the Public Service Credit Union and their staff. And today our main speakers will be Pat McLoughlin, CEO, Mairead Dillon, head of your fundraising, and our board chairman, Don Bailey. So to start with, I'm now going to introduce Pat McLoughlin, CEO. We've been chatting for a while, but this is the formal chit chat. So to introduce him, I'll just let you know a bit about him. Pat worked as a management consultant before becoming CEO of the Alzheimer Society of Ireland. And he has served as the first national director of the National Hospitals Office and also as deputy CEO of the HSE. He has assisted government on a pro bono basis in reviews of public expenditure and has also served as chairman and a member of a number of voluntary organisations. He is very well educated because he holds a BA and an LLB from NUI Galway and has an MBA from Strathclyde Business School. So no pressure there, Pat. Over to you for a few words. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Noel. And this is a lovely event for us. We really appreciate it, and especially with the credit union movement. And I hate when people talk about the credit union movement as being around a long time, because they were formed in 1958, which was the year I was born. So I have to take it on the chin from that point of view. I suppose normally at the beginning of every meeting you have to identify if you have any conflict of interest. The only one I have is I serve as a director of CUSAP, that I think would be well known to yourselves in the credit union movement. So I've been very much linked with the movement all my life, really, and very similar grassroots movement established by volunteers. Our own society was established back 38 years ago by Winifred Bly. His sister had dementia, and Imelda Gillespie, whose husband had dementia. And I spoke to Winifred just the day before we were closing our day centres. Winifred is still alive and still in good health. And I just felt I should ring her and let her know just all of the work that she had carried out with all of the volunteers, what we had to do about COVID. And she was very understanding. And she basically said, as she always had, will you please look after the carers? They're the people carrying the brunt. And I explained to her what had happened in the organisation and the fact that we now had people with dementia speaking for the organisation as well as carers, and she was thrilled to hear that. Today was an important day for us in that regard because we launched our pre-budget submission, and the MC for that was Kevin Quaid, a person with Lewy body's dementia, and he handled it all with aplomb. So that has been the benefit of us being a grassroots movement, that people with dementia and carers are now the voice of the society. We began our first day centre in 1987 in Sandymount and then in Blackrock. And we were up to 47 when, literally on St. Patrick's Day, we had to close down on foot of government direction. We kept it going as long as we could. And we said that week, that's the easy bit, closing them. We said it'll be very difficult reopening them. Little did we realise social distancing and all that has left us in a very difficult position. We have restructured the organisation completely. We've made 19,000 calls to people who are attending our centres since. That's nearly 90% of the people who are attending who want us to give them a call to keep in touch with them. Our Alzheimer cafes that were all face-to-face, they're now being done virtually. Our family care training is being done virtually. We did bring in virtual one-to-one discussions between a dementia nurse and somebody with dementia or a carer so that we could have that. So we've had to completely restructure the organisation at the same time as we had to restructure our fundraising. You'll hear that from Mairead. And it's really very heartening for us when other organisations that are volunteer-led, grassroots movement, realise that, yeah, we're in difficulty. I think we both have challenges, and the branches know this, in relation to regulation and the burden that brings on us as an organisation. But no, we're up to that. So today we were lobbying government because many of our premises were not designed ever for COVID or for even infection control. Very good facilities, as I said, like in Sligo, like in Bessborough, about 8 to 10, generally that were designed, fundraised and built locally with local money. Then we had to opportunistically, if we got a day in a community centre or a GA hall or in a local authority building or a health service executive building, we took it. Many of those now are too small. We can't share space from the point of view of infection control. So we're pleading with government that we started to give the sort of start-up funds to dementia, which are part and parcel of what they do when businesses are in difficulty. And we're hoping for that. And it was great that our launch today, as I say, the MC had as Lewy bodies, dementia was attended by carers, by branches, and a lot of politicians. And we've been getting a lot more support. We just have to push to treat dementia with the respect that it deserves. Any of us who have lived with COVID are living with the hope that there'll be a cure or a vaccination. People with dementia, and generations of them, have been living with that hope for over 100 years. Still no sign. Just shows how difficult that is for the 30 people or so who will be diagnosed today. That no GP or memory clinic will be able to say, yeah, you have a good chance of surviving this, or you've got it early, say generally with cancer and a lot of other. So that's the difficulty that people with dementia and their carers face when they're advised that they have. So it's a real pleasure for us to be associated with yourselves in the credit union movement. We always feel it's an affirmation of what we're doing. Both the staff and the volunteers and our branches and our board are all volunteers. We volunteers right through the organisation, at board level, at branch level. We have volunteers who are e-campaigners, our charity events, a lot of volunteers, corporates who give us people to assist us in our fundraising. We depend heavily on volunteers, as indeed does the credit union movement. So I just like to say thanks on behalf of the board, on behalf of the branches, and on behalf of the management and staff of ASI that you thought of us. And we will make sure that we get this money out quickly to the branches. As I say, we won't do a Father Ted on it and leave it resting in our account. We'll make sure that it will go to where you want it to go, and that the money that will be given, will be raised, will be used locally for the benefit of people locally. So that's all I'd like to say at this stage, Noel. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Pat, for that resume. Just to remind people that the Alzheimer Society had their memory walk, which, as we were chatting before we started, was very successful last Sunday. The Public Service Credit Union is nationwide as well. So just to remind people that there is a national helpline you can find on alzheimer.ie for any information. And their services and support are based, as I can see, on a county by county basis. So if you have any issues on that you want to check, by all means, check the website. I'm now going to ask Mairead Dillon, Head of Fundraising, just for a few words on the challenges, which are obviously very, very big in this COVID environment, just to chat about fundraising in general. So Mairead, if you're hearing us loud and clear there, can I pass over to you?
Thanks, Noel. So just say thank you very much. We're delighted to be here today. So to let you know a little bit about what we do from a fundraising point of view and how COVID has impacted us, I suppose just to say we are 68% funded by the HSE, and every year we have to raise over 3.5 million just to keep our services going. To say our branches are an absolutely massive part of that. So our branches around the country combined bring in over €1 million in fundraising every year, which is absolutely fantastic. And not only are they heavily involved in fundraising, but they're heavily involved in advocacy, raising awareness locally, and just generally part of the community in relation to ASI locally on the ground. So we would work very closely with all our community fundraisers around the country, and then we have community fundraisers that work very closely with our branches on the ground. This year, due to COVID, we have been very restricted in terms of fundraising events that we can do. For example, one big event that our branches would be heavily involved with would be our Tea Day. And our Tea Day normally would bring in anywhere from 450,000 to 500,000 every year. This year, we weren't able to do that event due to COVID. And as a result of that, we turned it into a virtual event. And while it was very successful in terms of a virtual event, it only brought in 17% of what it would normally bring in. So I suppose as an organisation, we need to look now going forward at how we're going to fundraise, because the nature of fundraising has changed completely for all charities, not just us. I suppose with that said, I just want to comment on how supportive the community have been to ASI during COVID. Any appeal we've gone out with, I know, Noel, you mentioned our memory walk, for example. We had over 3,000 walkers that took part in our memory walk last weekend. So far, it has raised over €100,000, which, you know, we weren't expecting that at all. That was the first time we had done that event, and it really worked well. And I know Pat mentioned earlier, you know, the responses from people doing that event were just so good. While it was an emotive event for a lot of people, it was an event people wanted to take part in, and people were able to go and do the walk the way they wanted to do with their families, and remembering people with dementia around the country. So I just want to say thank you very much. I suppose partnerships like this mean a huge amount to an organisation like ours, and particularly because we're so community based. And, you know, with the Public Service Credit Union, you're in the community as well. And we do try and match up because, as you said earlier, we have services in every county in Ireland. So we're very much in the community. So a partnership like this is, you know, really, really positive partnership for the Alzheimer Society. So on behalf of everyone, and just to say to the team, I know they put a lot of work into pulling this event together. You know, the members of my team that work on corporate, and I know Fiona and a few members from the Public Service Credit Union. It's been a massive event to try and pull this together to get everyone, you know, online today. So thank you very much for that as well, because I know a huge amount of work has gone into it.
Thank you, Mairead. That's great to hear. The Public Service Credit Union relies on volunteers just like yourselves. And just to give you a brief resume, this credit union was formed in 1992 and was ably managed for many years by Ursula Nolan as our CEO. And this baton was passed on to our current boss, Paul Ryan, who's joined us today in 2019. We have over 22,000 members and a balance sheet of 214 million. So we are quite strong despite the current environment. We're looking forward to the future. And the credit union has offices on Earlsford Terrace, from where I'm speaking to you today, and in Errol Place, following the successful merger last year with Citybus Credit Union. So now I'm just going to introduce our chairman, Don Bailey, who's live and with us from Ballsbridge. And just I'll ask Don to respond shortly on behalf of the credit union, but give you a brief bio of his involvement. Don has given over 30 years service as a volunteer to this credit union, and he's now in his third year as board chairman. He's employed in the Department of Agriculture, Food and the Marine, in the Milk Policy and Trade section. There's a mouthful for you, but there's a very responsible job, and it's great to see that he's able to give up his time as a volunteer for this credit union. So now, if it's okay with Don, maybe he'd like to respond on behalf of our credit union. Over to you, Don.
Okay. First of all, thank you all for coming today. You're very welcome. It is an important event in the life of PSCU. We think it's very important. We, as Pat said, we are a community-based organisation, both of us. We deal with and need volunteers and a great staff. and indeed we have both. I better say that before we want to get shot. So it's important to us all. We both act as a sticking point for our community. You at a more local level, us at a more macro level. But each of us is important in our own right. All right? He's got a phone. We won't embarrass him. But it's important that we both act as a united force in keeping our community together. And to that event, we can support each other. As credit union has been an important part of my life for the last 30 years. So, and I've also been involved with the Disability Federation of Ireland. So I'm a wee bit familiar with what Pat did do and the money he hadn't got when he was there. And I now know that the HSE are having slight difficulties, I will in the future, with fundraising and giving you your well-needed resources. And that is also compromised by your public fundraising. So we are very, very delighted to be able to host this event today and later to give you how you will put to good use. I'm sorry it's not more, but maybe this event will, through its publication, will encourage other corporate bodies to not renege on their donation event and possibly encourage them to hold an event like this and still hand over the money. So that's about all I have to say. Thanks very much for coming. It does our profile as much good as it does yours. So it's a joint event. We both benefit from it, and that's the way it should be. Okay, Noel, back to you.
Thank you, Don. I was just thinking there as you were speaking that it probably is no harm next year when we hear of the Memory Walk that at least we can advertise it on our website following this charity event to let members know that the Memory Walk is happening in their locality. So I'll take that on board, at least by way of communication. We can pass the message around, and hopefully that'll be in a post-COVID world when we're walking next year. I'm now going to ask, I see Marilyn Sheehan on the screen there, so I'm going to ask Marilyn to give us a resume from the Treaty City from Limerick, and she's going to give us a few words about her involvement and the work that a local branch does in their community. So Marilyn, I hope you're hearing me, and good to talk to you.
I'm hearing you. Yes, I'm hearing you, Noel, and thank you for having me on and asking me to speak. I'm involved with the Limerick branch about 30 years, so I'm in your era, Don, and I'm involved because I'm a past carer. My dad had it and my uncle had it, and I have it on both sides of my family. But I got involved in the society when there was very, very little in Limerick anyway. And just a group of us got together and we met once a week where we brought people together, carers together. And out of our Limerick branch, everything we got, we nearly got for free because we looked for everything for free, buildings or anything. But out of our Limerick branch, it grew Clare, North Tip, Adair and Killaloo, Ballina, Killaloo. So out of Limerick came 4 branches. So that was the main thing for us to do, to be able to develop the area. And our numbers have gone up in years. I mean, years ago, it wasn't spoken about. People hid it. Even when we first got a bus, there was a lot of country areas our bus couldn't go down because families didn't want to see Alzheimer signage on the side of a van picking up people to go to a day centre. So we came up against that. Thankfully, that is all gone by the board, I think now, that it's spoken about, but so many people are touched. I don't think there is anyone in Ireland that isn't touched with Alzheimer's or somebody they know that has it. I started, it was my parents' group that I was dealing with. Now I'm dealing with my own friends, which is very sad. Well, of course, I'm in that age group anyway. I'm the isolated age group. But we have worked very hard. The Limerick branch have worked very hard to keep our resources up. We're a healthy branch financially, we hope. And we fundraise quite a lot. Very hard-working committee, and we fundraise quite a lot. This year hasn't been so good, but has been a little bit better than what we thought. Our golf classic went ahead and made over €5,000, which we weren't really expecting that, because we had 2 weeks notice when we were told we could use the golf course and that. But we have been very involved and very involved with all our guests that come to our centre. I personally have kept in touch with quite a few over the lockdown, just to ring them or email the carers now I'm talking about, and just ask how are they, is there anything we can do? I think they just need to know that there's a voice there listening to them. And as long as we can be there to do something, and that I can be an advocate. I was an advocate ever before the word came on board, before we knew what it was, when we were out there talking for people. Then suddenly we were all advocates. I don't mind being called that now. I have spoken about it widely to schools, secondary schools. I like going into to talk about it. I spoke one time to a doctor outside in our regional hospital a good many years ago, got in touch to know would I talk to a few students out there. No problem, I said, had no problem, but I said, I don't do statistics and I don't do medical terminology. So I went out and I saw a sea of white, and I'm telling you, I nearly passed out. But it went off fine, and we got a lot of good feedback from it, people talking to us normally about, you know, what happens, how we deal with it. Everyone deals with it in a different way when they're caring for somebody. You know, when I cared for my father, one stage he wouldn't let my mother into bed, and my mother rang us, and we went in and we said, look, Dad, that's Mum out there. Then things changed. We laughed a lot, which sounds crazy, but we did laugh a lot, because if we didn't, we'd have cried. So it was, I feel my calling to be in this society. Always worked in stockbrokers' offices, but when I retired and I gave my all to the Alzheimer Society, and I feel if I can touch one person, just one person, and if it can make life a little bit easier for them, I have done some good. And I thank you for having us on. I thank you for coming on board. And I'm honoured to say that I'm a member of our credit union here. So I'm delighted to be able to say that. And thank you for having me. Thanks all my friends and colleagues there as well. Thank you, Noel.
Thanks, Marilyn. I think that's a great few words, because you wear the advocate's badge with pride, and I can detect the community involvement around the country. So even as we speak today to what are complete strangers to me anyway, we can detect that great community involvement. So well done to all, and keep it going, I suppose, because given some of our ages, it might affect us at some stage. So we recognise that. I'm going to move on now, because to open this up to the country, we have a number of operations managers. So we have Amy, who's standing in for Mary Callanan. I have John Hincliffe, Mary Bardin, and Donald Murphy, if they're all there. And we'll see how this works, but I'll now call on Amy. And Amy, we owe a lot of thanks to Amy today, because between herself and Fiona, we put this together. So thanks, Amy, first of all, for that. But now you're going to chat on Mary Callanan's behalf.
No, thanks so much for having us all. So to echo what Mairead and Pat said, the branches of the ASI really mean so much, and they are our connection to the local communities across Ireland. So I thought it was important that everybody here today representing their branch gets a little shout out. So I'll fill in for Mary Callanan. Unfortunately, she got called away at last minute, but for Sligo branch, we have Brian Holland representing. Then for Longford, we have Patricia Mackin and Martha Byrne. For Limerick, we have Marilyn, who just spoke so well there. Thanks so much. Clare and Ennis branch, we have Liz Price. And for Limerick Adair branch, we have Wendy. And for Tipperary, we have Mel McGibbon and Tony Brophy. So welcome to everybody and thanks for joining us.
Okay. Is that okay, Amy? Yeah?
Yeah, so we can...
I call John Hincliffe. Hiya, John.
Oh, no, yeah. John Hinchliffe from the southern region. We cover Waterford, South Tipperary, Cork and Kerry. I just want to add something to what's been said so far to remind you all that all our home care teams have worked through the crisis so far. Although our daycare centres are closed, we are actually still providing services to families in need. I'm joined today by my good friend Deirdre Healy, who is the chairperson of the Cork branch. Thank you.
Thanks, John. This feels a bit like Eurovision looking for your votes. But thanks for that. Thanks for that contribution. And if we have Mary Bardin, are you there, Mary?
Hi, Noel. How are you?
There you are. We chatted earlier, and you have that lovely sandwich finished now. So talk about it.
The joke is, folks, I thought I was offline, and I was sitting here eating my sandwich when I, in fact, wasn't, and everybody was watching me. So, hi, Mary Bardin is my name. I'm Operations Manager for the Southeast of Ireland with the Alzheimer Society of Ireland. I've been with the ASI for about 10 years and I progressed from being daycare manager, home care manager up into operations manager. So I've done the 360 degrees of the ASI and thoroughly enjoyed it. And it's great to see so many people here. I was on another event earlier this morning with Pat and there was just as many people on. So the ASI really have lots of friends out in the community and it's just fantastic. Like John, John has admired all our home care staff who have worked really hard in the front line, and I would agree with John and the rest of my colleagues on that. And I suppose for our daycare staff where all our centres closed down, it was a difficult time in transition for them, but some of them have come on board to deliver different services such as our daycare at home, and then we've another service where we ring people in their homes to see if we could do anything for them or provide therapeutic activities. So we've managed to get there. It has been a long haul. None of us expected this to happen, but it did. But I'm joined by my branches in my region. Firstly, Eilish. Eilish is from South Dublin. Eilish, where are you if you want to give us a bit of a wave? Can anybody see Eilish? She was there earlier on.
Can't see Eilish. Is she?
She must have thought she was.
No, she's here.
Is she there?
Yeah.
Okay. Eilish is South Dublin. Eilish has been with us for many, many years and an absolute pleasure to work with. And then we have Lisa. Lisa, if you want to give us a wave there so everybody knows who you are. Yeah. Lisa is from Wicklow. And Lisa again has been with us for many years as well. And then we have Mary Conlon. Mary wasn't meant to be able to join us today, but she has managed. Thanks very much, Mary. Mary's our chairperson in Kildare. And Mary again has been with us for many, many years. And then our Laois branch chairperson has sent on her apologies. She wasn't able to make it today. So thank you very much, and thank you to all the branches.
Okay, thanks, Mary. Have we Donald Murphy there?
Donald texted me, he was on the road today and his signal is not great, so I'll fill in for Donald.
So Donald looks after the Eastern region.
He does, yeah, exactly. So, and the branches we have then representing the Eastern region. For North Dublin, we have John Mackin. So I saw John Mackin there. Hi, John. Dundalk, we have Jerry Murphy. For Drogheda, is Anne Short. Hi, Anne. For Meath and Navan, we have Christy Blake and Alice Fury. For Monaghan, we have Brendan Casey and Mona Wheatley. I think I saw Mona there. Hi, Mona. And for Cavan, we have Carol Beattie and James Nevin. So that is the Eastern region.
That's the Eastern region. Thank you very much for that. And it's important to remember that, I think as someone said earlier, €1 million was raised by the regions, and that's not a small amount of money. So we acknowledge that greatly. It's great to see it. And I suppose the one good thing is that the home care teams are working away, which must be a great help to the sufferers. Just moving on, just to let you know that this charity event is part of the Credit Union Social Commitment. So we select a charity of choice annually, but we also hold a bursary for first-year college students where we award 6 prizes of €6,000, which reflects our commitment to education. And it also honours one of the founders of the credit union, a gentleman called Seamus P. McKeown. So we feel it's a great another example of our social commitment. So if there are any members listening with families entering college, the closing date, you have plenty of time, is the 30th of October. And as the CAO offers would have been out in the last week or two, an entry form is available online. So it's the other part of our social commitment, supporting education. And while we're talking about the credit union, it's no harm to thank our staff here in Earlsford Terrace and in Earl Place, who keep the show on the road for all our members with loan applications and the rest. So after that, I now come to the virtual part of the day and the important bit. Even though Pat has physically got the cheque, he's only going to formally get it now. So if Don wants to pass over the cheque, we have great technology working here, because the cheque is going to leave Don's hand and land straight in Pat McLoughlin's hands. It's very like Santa Claus on Christmas Eve. The cheque is on its way. So Don, if you want to pass that cheque over, fire ahead.
Yes, by some Zoom magic, it's going to appear in Pat's hand. He won't tell us under the bank about money laundering or anything like that. He can't ask questions. But now Pat has the cheque, and I hope he spends it well.
Confirm.
So Pat, if you want to hold up the cheque just to show that we did physically send it to you, it's
We've received the cheque.
And probably the important thing is that all your volunteers and your helpers have seen the cheque as well. So it's over to you to spend it well.
Could I just say, Noel, in relation to it, it probably mightn't be generally known just how much the ASI assisted the HSE in the national crisis that we had. We offered them straight away our buses, our facilities, in the event that they took it, because it was a community problem and those buses were funded by the community. We also redeployed over 40 of our staff to the HSE to work in nursing homes on the front line, like our home care workers. So we just didn't sit around and say we'll just look after ourselves. We offered our facilities, our people, and the HSE took up that offer in many situations. So it shows that how much we were prepared to be part of the crisis response when COVID hit. And I do know I got a letter from the HSE and from their managers how much that was appreciated, because they had a lot of people who got the virus, had a lot of sick leave, etc. So our staff went into nursing homes. Ironic that they were meeting some of the people that they had been dealing with in the day centres, and that's the nature of dementia. So I just wanted to give a shout out for those as well, and for all of our people who have kept it going. And you know, we will be there. We're there 38 years, and we're determined to be there, and we'll be there provided we're providing a good service for people and that the community respond with fundraising and corporates yourselves. So I just wanted to outline that as another part of the story of ASI during the crisis.
Good to hear that, Pat, and it's probably something that's not generally known, so we appreciate that. We're coming to the end of it, but we're probably going to open it up. So if people are listening and want to unmute themselves, they can chat, because I know there's great community involvement with the ASI. We're coming close to the end of the formal event, but as I said, we leave it open. And if this was a normal event, we'd be over in the private rooms of the National Concert Hall, inviting you now for a glass of wine and some refreshments. But unfortunately, we won't be able to do that today. But if something offers the opportunity, Pat and myself will keep in touch. We might do it in the new year. Before we finish, I'm going to say a big thank you to Amy Vaughan of the ASI and my own colleague Fiona Butler for putting this together, because it didn't just happen. So a big shout out to Amy and Fiona. They were the links in both organisations. So thanks very much for that. So I'm going to formally finish the event. We leave it open because we can chat away. Pat, do you want to say goodbye? And we'll leave it at that. And hopefully we'll get to meet in person at some stage in the future. Please, God.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Thanks very much, everybody. We really appreciate the partnership. We know how much the credit union movement like to keep people holding their accounts and keeping a sticky relationship. We would hope to develop the same with yourselves over the years, be it at local or national level. We really appreciate it.
Thanks a lot. People can unmute and chat away there, so we're not closing yet. We leave it open for the next 30 minutes and that if people want to chat. You can sing a song even if you want to, because Mary Bardin.
Unfortunately, I have to leave because I have to go back to work. So it was lovely to see the faces.